everybody and welcome to episode 22 of the Shinybees podcast, Red Alert. Today is Tuesday the 21st of October and coming up in the show we've got Out and About at Yarndale, the Whip and Piccadilly section, the announcement of a new section we'll be introducing and an interview with Jess of Ginger Twist Studios in Edinburgh.
To laugh again with you, if that's alright. I need a drink.
Hello, welcome back into the show. It's been a long time since I last spoke to you. A warm welcome to any new listeners that we may have joining us today on the show. Great to have you with us, and as always, a lovely squishy cuddle for any returning listeners that have come back to join in the madness again. I really do appreciate your support and that you're listening in. It is lovely, as I said, to be back again. I'm in my little house in a somewhat windy and breezy Elgin. If there are any kind of creaking noises, it is entirely possible I could be being whisked off in a hurricane to Kansas, hopefully to land on some witch or another. And if you've been following me on Instagram today, you'll notice that the kids' Wendy house has had somewhat of an accident, and both parts of the unremovable when you move in house roof blew off, so it's a little bit open plan for them in there at the moment. Not that I've let them out in it today. We went out to a group in Elgin to kind of let them blow off some energy because he couldn't play in the garden, and when we got outside, poor little Sanimal got completely blown over like a little tumbleweed. He is a little bit top heavy. His head is quite large. Or I think it's quite large. Nobody else seems to think it's quite large, or they're trying to pretend to be nice. And he's got quite skinny legs, and he just, gust of wind, boop, straight over on his face. I loved it. Not as much as I did. I was kind of crying, laughing, picking him up, pretending not to laugh at him, because he knows and he gets quite angry. But there you go. But yeah, it's lovely to be back chatting to you again, as I say. How have you all been? Are you enjoying this move towards more wintry weather? Getting your Christmas knitting out? Planning your gift knitting? Planning your Christmas list for your loved ones to get for you so they don't buy you anything crazy? It's October, isn't it? I've kind of missed all of it. There was a big plan for a kind of Socktober celebration because I'm a big fan of socks, and it all kind of fell a little bit by the wayside. For good reason as well, to be honest with you. It has been a little bit crazy up here. And again, some of you will already know that we ended up spending the first week of the month pretty much in the local hospital with a little Sanimal, who it was a bit crazy. I put a bit of a plea out on Twitter to ask for help with teething remedies, because it was my opinion that he was just teething, he was getting his back teeth, and it was all a little bit dramatic, and he'd been screaming for 2 days non-stop. This is the child that never cries, by the way, and he'd not slept for 2 days, and this is the child that has the nickname Sir Naps a lot, because that's all he does. In fact, I'm convinced the reason why it took him till he was nearly 18 months old to walk is because he was asleep when all the other children were practising to walk, which is why it took him so much longer than everyone else. And he hadn't been asleep, so I asked for some help, and Julie got some suggestions, and to be honest, by that afternoon I was kind of convinced that actually maybe I ought to take him to the doctors, because he had been screaming for 2 days, and in fact all of the painkillers and things I was trying were not working, and he was drooling somewhat in the manner of a kind of rabid dog, possibly not with the froth, but he was drooling an awful lot. So I took him to the GP after a little bit of a kind of conversation with the receptionist. What is it with GPs receptionists? Why did they feel the need in the massively, I've spent 7 years at medical school qualification to quiz you and then decide to triage you based on the answer to that? So she got a little bit of a debrief, bless her, along the lines of, I don't know, I'm not a doctor. That's why I'm ringing you. So yeah, I hadn't slept for 2 days. I was a little bit shouty, but I took him along to see the very nice GP, and bless her, she wanted to have a look in his mouth, and he got really angry. And when he gets really angry, he goes really quiet, in that way that children, when they fell and banged their head really hard, and you just wait for that big pause before they make a really big noise. Well, he does that a lot, but he holds his breath when he gets angry, and he went a little bit blue, which worried her a little bit. I could tell, and she promptly rang the paediatric ward and sent me off to the hospital. which was not in my plan for the week, let me tell you, when my husband was on leave and we're all going to do like family stuff and catch up with work and all of that good kind of thing that you have planned. And yeah, we ended up getting admitted and staying in for 2 days, and they thought he had like bad tonsillitis, so they took some blood and they cannulated him, which was really traumatic because I hate needles. And we stayed in sort of overnight, got no sleep again because he was kicking off, because he was in quite a bit of pain, bless him, and he'd lost his voice by this point due to the constant kicking off. And we stayed in for 2 days and sampled the delights of Dr. Grace Hospital before coming home kind of halfway through the week, a little bit relieved. He hadn't ended up needing any antibiotics or anything. It's all cool. And we've been home about 3 hours and he seemed quite fine until the doctor rang us and said, yeah, can you bring him back in? We'd like to give him IV antibiotics. He's got a heart murmur and there's some bacteria in his blood, so we need to kind of get him on these drugs right away because it could be this thing called Lemierre's disease, which is really nasty. So we took him back in and he got on 3 different kinds of IV antibiotics, and yeah, it took 5 goes to cannulate him. He was like a little pincushion, and 2 days later the second lot of test results came back and said actually it's not the really bad bacteria, it's just this other bacteria called Pasteurella canis, which can only come from dogs. And we do have dogs, as you know. They're under the table right now, and they may chip in from time to time depending on how they're feeling tonight. And we ended up putting him on oral antibiotics and then finally taking him home on the Friday. And the basic premise was he had a heart murmur and he had swollen kind of tonsils, and this blood result, so they were worried about he might have endocarditis and stuff like that. So we had to take him over to Aberdeen to have a heart scan, at which point, he flirted like nobody's business with the sonographer lady. Well, sonographer, not sonographer. Was it a sonographer? Yeah. It was ultrasound. I guess it's a sonographer. And at which point I knew he was absolutely fine, because he's terrible. You take him to... I don't take him shopping anymore because all the stuff is defrosted by the time I get home, because he's pulled so many old ladies. He pulls at least 3 times on a trip round Asda. It's ridiculous. And he was even told off by the cardiologist for being so flirty with his sonographer. And it turned out it was completely normal heart murmur. 80% of children have them, completely non-related. And on the way home, they rang up and said, actually, the first blood result got contaminated. He's never had this bacteria in his blood. Sorry, type thing. It was probably from a dog lick on his hand when we cannulated him the first time round. So we spent the entire week in hospital, drama, screaming, trying to keep a child with a cannula in his foot, a 20-month-old with a cannula in his foot. Can you keep him still so it doesn't come out? Yeah, like you can keep a box of frogs still. So that was traumatic. And so we started taking him out for walks in the pram to keep him quiet. And he lost his favourite teddy, which still hasn't returned despite an extensive campaign on Twitter and Facebook appealing for the return of his rhinoceros. It hasn't returned. And we got him a new one, and he took one look at it, squished it, felt its ears, and just threw it, launched it across the room as an imposter. So it was pretty crazy, to be honest. So that is where I've been. Not that I'm one for giving you 8 minutes of excuse about where I've been, but that's the kind of background to it. He's completely fine now, as you will have seen again on Instagram. I've showed a few pictures so people don't need to worry about him. He's completely fine. He's flirting with all the grannies again, running around, laughing his head off, talking a lot as well. So yeah, he's good. But that has obviously meant, trying to keep a toddler still in a very small room when he's got cabin fever and you've not slept and have cabin fever as well is pretty bad for the knitting coefficient. So although I took my knitting with me, it just kind of sat there. I didn't get a chance to really get it out. So yeah, that's mostly where I've been. I also got to go out for a little visit to Johnston's Cashmere Mill last weekend, I think it was. For the end of Wool Week, there was a little kind of Families Day on, and I went there. I will probably do a review whilst I'm recording at a later time, because I want to go on the proper mill tour that they do, but it's only during the week. But I knew they were going to have some merino sheep there, so I thought I would take the beast along to see what she thinks. And it's got a nice cafe, so we'll go and have some sneaky cake afterwards. And we met 2 of the merino sheep that their wool is used in Johnston's products. One of which was called Mr. Net, and the other of which was called Wool I Am, which I just think, that's it, my life's complete. I'm just, yeah, awesome. And the farmers, I was like, pardon, sorry, what did you say his name was? And he was like, yeah, Wool I Am. You can tell one of the girls in the cafe named him. I was just, that's the best sheep name I've ever heard. So that was quite interesting as well. But like I said, I'll talk about that at some point in the future once I've had a chance to go and do the proper tour, because it looks like it's quite involved and quite interesting. In other news, again, I have had, other than my stay in hospital, I have had a bit of a reduction in my free time recently, due to an accidental casting in a local production, for which I volunteered to alter costumes to meet new people in my new area. I thought, community theatre would be quite a good laugh. I'll alter some costumes with my spunky sewing machine. It'll be quite fun. They seem like they need some help. Everyone's moving away and a lot of people are changing over. So I can do that. That'd be good. So I volunteered to help with that. Unbeknown to me, they had a bit of a recruitment crisis in the pantomime front, and I was swiftly drafted in, not to be one of the chorus, or to throw tomatoes at someone, or to have one line, which was kind of like my agreement was, I can do something like maybe one line or something. If you really stuck, Dick Whittington and his cat, I'm the cat. The long and short of it is. So I only have one line, and that is meow, but I'm in pretty much every scene, so that now means I'm practicing 3 nights a week for the community pantomime. So if you're out and about in Elgin around the middle of December and would like to come and see me in a skin-tight lycra silver onesie pretending to be a cat, please get in touch and I can arrange for some tickets for you. So other than that, I think it's time to get on to the nitty stuff. So we'll move on to the next section. Did I tell you in the last section that I really don't actually like cats? It's very difficult to play a cat when you just don't agree with any of their ethics whatsoever. I've been told off because apparently my cat is too dog-like. Well, there's a strange one. Anyway, on to the out and about section. As you will be aware, Yarndale took place last month at the Skipton Auction Mart. It was the second year of the festival and I got to go along. And there was a big contingent from Edinburgh travelling down on the train as part of a day trip that in no way was enabled at all by Claire Devine of Yarn and Pointy Sticks Designs, who basically got on Twitter and told everyone the train tickets were like 20 odd quid and you should get in there now and buy one, which of course we all did. For the kind of 06:15 train from Edinburgh down to Skipton, which we all got on in the morning. There was a very organised knit group Edinburgh sort of contingent which brought a load of pastries and Bucks Fizz and things, which I didn't partake in at that time in the morning. I was not feeling on 100% with it. I'm not going to lie to you. And off we went, or off we tried to go, because the train was a little bit broken, and so we sat there for kind of 20 minutes and Shona, one of the girls, said, you know what, they really must just turn this off and turn it back on again. So about 10 minutes afterwards, when we were already late and we'd already missed the kind of connecting train, they decided to do just that, and funny old thing, that solved the fault. So off we went down to Carlisle. This resulted in a bit of a long wait in Carlisle for the next train, because the one we were meant to be getting on that was kind of being intercepted by, well, all the people from Glasgow were going to be on that train as well, and meet up with them on that side of the country. They all went off, including Louise Scully of the Knit British podcast that we were meeting up with. Off they went, and we were left in Carlisle, and there ain't a lot to do in Carlisle at 8:30 on a Saturday morning, I'm not going to lie to you. So I decided that I wasn't going to go and look around the castle, which turned out not to be open anyway, and I wasn't going to sit in the train waiting room. I was going to go to Marks and Spencer's and get me some nice posh kind of charcuterie meats for my lunch, because I'm that rock and roll. So we did that and made it back to the train with our charcuteries, and off we went, arriving into Skipton quite a bit later than what we'd originally anticipated. This year I got on the little red bus to go up to the auction mart, which takes the exact same amount of time as it does to walk through the park. I know this because on the way home I walked through the park and got there at the same time as the bus, even though the bus was kind of driving off as I left. And immediately hooked up with Louise Knit British, and off we went. The first stop I think was Tin Can Knits, which was being manned by Emily and her lovely family, including the criminally cute baby Max, more on them later, to drop off some samples and things. And then we went straight over to Eden Cottage to pet their new alpaca range. And all of the chunky alpaca was at the front of the store, ready to kind of shove your face into. It was amazing. I was actually sent some of this this yarn, and I seriously considered just putting googly eyes on it. And in fact, it was the Maya Chunky alpaca. I was just going to put googly eyes on it and keep it as a pet, give it a name. But I've caked it up. It's in my little knitting box looking at me right now. It's going to become a nice cosy hat for my dog walking on the beach here. So we had a look at that and had a look at all the colourways of the new mill dyed range. Had a bit of a chat to Victoria and David before splitting off to go and look around some other stuff. And because it was quite late, immediately kind of after that, it was like lunchtime, and I had arranged to meet up with the lovely Linda Rose, 287 on Ravelry, Linda, and her mum outside for a little kind of... I was going to eat my lunch with them, but I got hungry on the train and ate my charcuterie and all of my olives on the train before I got there. But luckily for me, being northern, Linda's mum had brought me a packet of mini Jaffa cakes to have with them. I was dead pleased. So I sat outside listened to the brass band with them, spotted little baby Max again outside with his daddy, and had a good chat to them before meeting up again with Jess and Claire to check out the stuff at Laxton's, who are a spinning mill in Yorkshire, and had a kind of smoosh at their yarns. They had some really nice stuff, actually, some quite interesting bases. And Jess was wearing the most amazing sort of tully underskirt to her effortlessly glamorous, as usual, 19 kind of 40s, 50s tea dress that she was wearing. And it was quite funny walking around with her, because literally like loads of men would just kind of stare at her and go up like, wow, look at her. And I don't blame them really, because she's got obviously this curly red hair, and then she was looking dead glam with this underskirt on and everything. It was amazing. And we also met up with Louise Riley, who is Louise Pants on Ravelry, and she and I went on a little yarn bowl shopping mission to get her mum a yarn bowl, and went and saw lovely George of Yarn Garden, who was in the kind of towards the back of the arena in one of the corners, right next to the kind of the open air, which was good, and had a good natter to him. And then before we knew it, was time for the podcast to meet up, which was attended by Cece of the Geeky Girls, who kind of took charge of arranging that. There was Louise Knit British, as I mentioned. I also bumped into Nick from Yarns from the Plain, Amy of Knit Spin Cake, who was manning the store with her mum with their project bags, as they did last year. There was a young gentleman who does a video podcast, and the name of it has completely eluded me. I didn't get to chat to him very much because I was too busy stuffing my face with strawberries that I had left over from my little charcuterie Marks and Spencer's trip. They're getting a bit skanky by this point because I dropped stuff on top of them, but I was too busy eating them and petting some really kind of nice hand-dyed yarns that Nick from Yarns from the Plain had brought with her for us all to have a look at, that she dyed herself under her new brand that she's going into as Yarns from the Plain. So that was very exciting. I met some lovely listeners, some of whom I've met before, some of whom I feel like I know really well, but I'd never met in real life. So there was, in no particular order, and if I do miss anyone else, please forgive me, because I was completely maxed by this point in the day. There was Hannah and her husband Nigel, who I've met Hannah before but never met Nigel, and he was really good actually. He was a really good husband, like going around, probably getting into it, feeling yarn and everything. I was dead impressed. And Isla and Shelley, who were part of the Lush knit along, and we did a big Lush picture. Everyone had their Lushies on apart from me. Well, I had mine on, but I still had the needles in because I hadn't finished it. I was trying to do the button band on the way down. It didn't go. It's gone better. I finished it when I got home, so that tells you how much I managed to get done. And I think Louise Knit British has that, so I will see if I can get a copy of it so you can have a little look. But that was cool. That's very interesting. And then I had literally had time to quickly nip to Blacker Yarns and pick up some yarn for a review, which I will do in the next episode. It's very exciting. And that was it. It went really quickly. Fortunately, I didn't get a chance this time to hang out behind the bins with Amy and Nick, but I did buy a couple of things that I will share with you, and in no particular order. I got another set of 10 buttons for my Lush cardigan, hoping that I would finish it, but I didn't, from Incomparable Buttons, which are a South African button company that makes handmade buttons. It's a fair trade company and provides employment opportunities for ladies from disadvantaged areas. They make some beautiful buttons, and these are imported into the UK by Injabulo, who had a stand, so I went there and got some of those. I also went along to see the lovely Anne Kingston, because I wanted a copy of her Stranded Knits book, which is a Fair Isle book, and there's a lot of teaching resources in that. It's really, really good. And I'd promised myself a copy of this, so I went along to get one from her. But what really confused me is that Anne's got a twin sister, and they were actually wearing the opposite clothes to last year. So last time she had William on, which is her cardigan that has the little bunny rabbits around the yoke, and her sister had a different one on, and this year it was the other way around. So I was talking to her sister, and you could tell that she sort of knew that she should know who I was, but she didn't. And then Anne turned around and I was like, I'm really sorry. I'm completely confused. Hi Anne, how are you? Because I've met Anne before, but not her sister. Hence why her sister was like, hi, yes. And it probably happens all the time, to be honest, but probably not from people as random as I am. We had a good chat, and we will be doing a Malone knit along, Nick from Yarns on the Plain and myself, because she bought the yarn for this last year, you'll remember, the Fibre Spates yarn, and I've bought the yarn since. It wasn't Fibre Spates, it was Nurturing Fibres, but we both have the yarn for this, so we decided we're going to do a little knit along that will start in January, so you'll hear about that over the next couple of months. I went along to Tilly Flop Designs and bought 2 greetings cards from there. They had some really nice prints, and once they come in a grey, I'm going to get one of the prints in grey to go in my clearly we've not given him enough attention, or I'm boring him, to go in my office upstairs. And I also got a project bag from Daisy Bamboo Designs, and it has little bunny rabbits on it riding a moped with some balloons. It's amazing. So I got one of those. And finally I got a copy of Handmade in the UK by Tin Can Knits. This is the pattern book in which Lush comes along with Bonnie and a couple of other of their big patterns. I'd already bought a copy of it to do the Lush knit along, but my friend Kate, the one with the monkey socks, or not the monkey socks, more on that later, she decided she was going to one after seeing all of ours, and I said, well, I will get you this for Christmas instead, because she's always really hard to buy for, because she's already got loads of stuff. So I was like, don't get it, I'll get this for you. And I thought, she won't know, and I'll get it signed for and everything. So I went about 3 or 4 times during the day, but it was always really busy, with loads of people there, and Emily was signing books, and baby Max was there, and her husband was there, and her mum, I think, was there as well. I think it was her mum. And yeah, it was really busy. So literally 4:45, I'm leaving at 10:05 to go back through the park to get the train. I run along there, and poor old baby Max is starving, and he's about to get some milk, and she just kind of spirited him away. And I said, I really want a signed one to her husband. I said, can I order one and I can pick it up from Ginger Twist Studios, or, I don't want to interrupt him, because you know, it's been a long day and everything, and he's getting his food, and her mum's like, don't worry about it, it'll be fine. So she went over, and she, bless her, she signed it while she was still feeding him and everything, and I was just totally like, respect, you're still doing the whole business lady, mum, you know, everything. And I didn't stay to chat for too long because I didn't want to interrupt her, but that baby is seriously cute. If you see him out and about, he's got like a massive kind of shock of dark hair that's usually standing on end, and he's wearing impossibly cute knitwear as well. So that I was quite impressed by that. It was quite funny. So yeah, that was all I bought. And you'll notice from that list of stuff, there was no yarn in it. I bought no yarn. I know. I think I'm turning over a new leaf. Either that, or I'm quickly realising that the walk-in closet in our spare bedroom is getting quite full. So, thoughts then from this year on Yarndale. It was a lot less crushed than last year. They'd spread the stalls out a lot, and they'd also got rid of the bacon butty van right in the middle of the arena, which I think made a big difference. That was off to one side. It made it feel a lot more airy and a bit less crushed. I don't know if there were less people or whether it's because it was more spread out. But I also thought there were too many stalls. I didn't get round to see half the people I wanted to see because there were just so many things to go and look at. And I also thought that it could have benefited from a bit more variety. I know it is a fibre festival, but there was a lot of the same sort of things, and sometimes it's nice to see things that are a little bit different at these shows, especially when you go to a lot of them. So yeah, definitely worth a kind of trip over. If you want to get your yarn for the year, then you'll definitely get it there. But I think if you're looking for something that's a little bit different and a little bit out there, you're not going to find a lot there. There are some things that are a little bit different, but not as many as I think they could do with for a show that size, basically. Not that I'm running it, but if I was, that's what I'd do. So, anyway, without further ado, it will be on next year. They've already released the dates, and I'll probably be there again. But now we should move on to Whipping Piccadilly. So, Whipping Piccadilly section. Not a lot in it. Sorry, the dog's kind of scratching himself there. Not a lot in it, as you'd imagine, because I've already told you I've not done much knitting, but we'll crack on with it anyway. The two main things that I have been knitting on is, number one, the Lush cardigan that was part of the Lush Knit Along. This is finished now. It was knitted in Black as Swan, and the buttons were from Incomparable Buttons, as I mentioned. Do you not like the buttons, Womble? Right, okay. Doesn't like the buttons. Which I managed to finish after getting back from Yarndale. And I've also added to this a grosgrain strip on the back of where the buttons are sewn on. I followed a tutorial that was done by the Knitmore girls, and this basically involves sewing on a ribbon, or grosgrain ribbon is a special kind of ribbon to strengthen the back of where you sew on the buttons. And then I also added on some little smaller buttons, little plastic ones, onto the back of the main buttons, because the main buttons are ceramic and they're quite heavy. And the Blackest One is very, very squishy merino. It's very soft. So there's no way it would really hold the weight of that. What I am going to do, and I haven't had a chance to yet, is do the same on the other side for the buttonholes, and actually do a grosgrain on the other side, and then do the buttonholes on my machine and tack it on so that it stabilises the other side as well. Because what I've found from the Blackest Swan is it is very, very soft, and it's bloomed loads when I've blocked it, and it's lovely. It's so warm and it's so soft, but it's also relaxed quite a lot. And I think I probably didn't give myself enough credit when I picked the measurements for it, and I'm clearly not as much of a kind of heifer as I thought I was. So it was already a little bit too big on the sizing before the yarn is relaxed, and as a result it's actually adding bulk now, because I didn't take it in far enough, essentially. My measurements, my waist measurement is considerably smaller than my chest and hips, so the pattern only goes down 2.5 inches, and I needed to go down about 6.5. So my lesson has been that I need to kind of trust the pattern, which Louise Knit British did say, you must trust the pattern, it'll feel like it's too small, but just trust it. And I was like, yeah, girl, you can't see my hips, trust me. But I did need to just listen to her, basically. You were right, Louise. And my thoughts on it are, and I want another one. I'm going to give this one to my mum. My mum is about the same size as me, but she doesn't like tight things. So I think she'll like this because she doesn't wear it tight and all buttoned up anyway. And she had her eye on it since I started knitting it, to be honest. And I can either I've still got 3 balls left over, so I can either get some more of the swan, or I can save that and I can get something with a little bit of more structure, something with some nylon in, perhaps, West Yorkshire spinners, something like that, or a slightly more robust fibre in the yarn, just so it holds up the structure of the garment a little bit better once it kind of relaxes and you get into wearing it. But I really enjoyed the pattern, so much so that I would be quite happy to just cast another one on now. It is quite addictive. I didn't really understand why people would want to do that, but I do now. So yeah, that's really good. I would recommend that. And the pattern is the Lush cardigan, and that is by Tin Can Knits, which I think is available as a single pattern or as part of the Handmade in the UK pattern collection. The other thing that I cast on, I wasn't supposed to be casting anything on because I'm meant to be whip cracking away and getting rid of any whips with the Knit British and Yarns from the Plane. And I took a couple of those with me to work on. Sammy's Funk Busting tank top and the Guardian Angel shawl that is never going to be finished, particularly now that I know there's a postal strike on in South Africa. And just didn't get done. I started picking up more stitches for the Guardian Angel and I just got bored. I was really tired because I had to go home quite early on the Sunday, unexpectedly. And Sammy's Funk Busting tank top, again I started picking up the stitches for around the neck, and there was just no way you could get in the number of stitches that I was meant to be able to pick up. So I need to kind of look at that when I'm not trying to do other things as well. And I just thought, I'm too tired, it's taken me nearly 2 hours to pick up the stitches around this neck. It's just been it to get rid. So I decided to cast on instead the quadratic shawl, which is a design by David O'Kelly for Eden Cottage Yarns that was released probably about 4 weeks ago, I guess. And I liked it as soon as I saw it, which is a bit funny for me because it is garter stitch, and it's a little known secret that I hate garter stitch. I don't like the way it looks. It just looks untidy. I don't get garter stitch. I would rather have stockinette any day because it just looks nice. But I had also seen a couple of projects that have been done in TGS yarns, particularly one that Kate Swell did, and she did Endless Rainbow by Martina Bain, which is the one with the little triangles on the end. You'll have seen it because it's all over Ravelry. It's in the kind of top 20 all the time. And she'd done that in her Tornado Over London Dye for Yarn skein, which was 55% merino, 45% baby camel from memory. That is massively from memory. And she'd done the rainbow bits in the Desert Vista Dye Works self-striping Viso base from the Summer Club. And I really liked it, so I thought, I've done my socks, my Tutti Frutti socks, and I had some of this left over, and I thought that would go quite nicely because the dye for yarn had a kind of reddy, purpley tinge tone over the top. So I thought all the reds and purples in the self-stripe will look quite cool and be quite interesting because it'll change colour through the stripes as well. And it's a dead simple kind of triangular shawl. You cast on the long parts so it gets smaller as you knit it. And it's kind of like boomerang shaped, I guess, ish, that sort of thing. Kind of like a kind of right angle triangle, but with the kind of bendy bit on the longest part, the hypotenuse. And get a grip, Joe. And I've cast that on, and it's done all in garter stitch, apart from every so often there is a coloured stripe, and that is two little rows of stockinette. So I've cast this on, And I'm loving the garter stitch. I'm going to say I was wrong. I'll put it out there. The garter stitch in the Dye for yarn is amazing. It is so squishy and lovely. And because it's got like this little halo, it's a kind of single ply yarn. It's got this lovely kind of slightly fluffy halo as well. It just takes away my annoyance at the untidiness of it. And I just want to squish it all the time. It's just so nice. So I'm really enjoying that. I think it has been quite a popular pattern for them because it is so simple, and you can use up little scraps for the coloured stripes of a sock yarn you've got lying around. You could just pick something plain like a grey yarn or something else that tones in, and just use up your little scraps, and jobs are good. And I think they had little boxes with a little kind of, you know, like you get a little gradient sort of mini skein kits like that, but they weren't little mini skeins. They were little tiny balls, like little walnuts, ready to kind of put in with whichever one you chose. So that was quite cool. So yeah, that's what I'm working on mostly at the moment, and I'm sure there'll be other things cast on in the meantime and not whip cracked away, but there you go. So that was the quadratic shawl by David O'Kelly for Eden Cottage. So on to the announcements and the interview. So I'm quite excited about the next bit. Sorry, I keep leaning on this table and it's so old and knackered, it just creaks whenever I lean on it. And yeah, I've got a giveaway for you. And before I announce the giveaway and how that's all going to work, I wanted to tell you some news. I'm going to have a new segment on the show. It's something I've been thinking about for a little while, and I would quite like to be able to provide some kind of proper technical knitting instruction learning content as part of the podcast, along with all the comedy stuff. I would quite like to have that in there. And my friend Kate, who I'm meant to be my tight northern friend from Yorkshire, who isn't tight, or well, she is northern and from Yorkshire, but she's not that tight, who I'm going to make the matchy socks for, but they're not getting made. I've ripped them out instead. Has decided, I think, in her frustration at waiting for me to knit her this pair of socks, to start knitting socks herself. And she's learning how to do it, but she's got loads of questions at the moment about the best way to do it, and she's kind of finding her groove and trying to learn how to pick the best yarns for it. And she's very much that kind of about to make that leap into the very expensive and lovely world of hand-dyed yarns. I gave her a bit of coaching at Unwind Brighton. She was there with me, so if you were there you will have seen her. And we went along to Sparkle Duck and picked out a couple of really nice skeins for her to make some socks for her boyfriend, who's decided he doesn't want any hand knitted socks. At which point I said, just chop him, get rid. Just not get rid of the pain now. Think about how much more money you'll have for yarn and how much more time you'll have to knit if he's not there. He won't wear your knitwear. Get rid of him. So she's now got extra yarn to knit socks for herself, and she's done one pair, and she's now kind of moving on to the kind of exploring all the other options that there are with socks. So what I've suggested to her and the fabulous Claire Devine, Sock Supremo and author of Sock Anatomy and general all-round good egg, is that we do a sock surgery segment, which is going to be on the podcast from now on. And essentially this is going to chronicle Kate's somewhat haphazard foray into knitting socks, and also basically a bit of an agony aunt section from answered by Claire as to how to solve her sock knitting problems. That will be starting in the next podcast, and if it isn't in the next one, it will definitely be the one after. We're just working our schedules to all get together and come up with all of the stuff for you. I'm sure it will turn into a bit of a giggle fest at several points, but hopefully you'll be able to learn something new from that. It's something I'm quite excited about, and hopefully I'm going to learn some stuff about socks as well. Maybe she'll knit me some socks instead. That'd be awesome. So, as part of that and everything else, it's all kind of blaring into one after my little holiday to Dr. Gray's in Elgin. We've got a giveaway, and this has very kindly been sponsored by both Jess of Ginger Twist Studios and by Claire. And it's a bit of a palooza. It's a bit of a sock palooza to get you in the mood for a bit of sock knitting and a year of socks next year. I want to be like all those people on Socks with Sarah this year who've got loads of hand-dyed yarn socks. I'm talking to you, Sparkly Shoe Chloe. I want to be like that next year as well. And my friend Kate does as well. So we're going to have this giveaway. The giveaway will comprise of a set of handmade sock blockers that have been hand carved in Cumbria from oak. These are available to buy at Ginger Twist Studios in Edinburgh and Fluff, yay, in Dundee. And they're basically hand carved sock blockers so that when you've done your beautiful lace socks, you can put them on these beautiful sock blockers, make them all nice, take pictures of it, put them on Instagram, and everyone can ooh and ah at your awesome socks. I am definitely in the market for a set of these. They come in 2 sizes, and I will put more details about that in the show notes. And from memory, the main size that you get is women's size 5 to 7.5, and I think they retail at £26, and then the slightly larger size for men's socks is £28. But you could win one set of these for your very own self, along with a skein of Humming Aran yarn, hand-dyed by Jess of Ginger Twist Studios in Edinburgh at her workshop, a studio that I went to interview her. You'll hear about that later. You'll hear all the yarn bubbling in the background. And also a copy of Head to Toe, which is a collection of 4 pieces of knitwear. It's a collaboration between Jess of Ginger Twist Studio and Claire of Yarn and Pointy Sticks, and it's basically 4 designs, 4 kind of pieces, like a kind of capsule accessory wardrobe to take you through kind of the autumn into winter and beyond. And it's all done in Jess's hand-dyed yarn, Ginger's hand-dyed, and it is partly to celebrate the release of Elgin. Yes, that's right, they've got a pattern named the same thing as the place that I live at. And this is a pair of little ankle socks that are knitted in the Humming Aran, and it's called Humming Aran because that's the noise that alpaca make when they're communicating, apparently. Jess talks about it in the interview, and it uses 1 skein for a woman's normal size foot, and it's getting quite cold around here, and I have to wear my kind of Bridgedale socks that I got when I joined the RAF. And what I really want is some nice thick Aran socks, hand-dyed, you know. It won't take me that long to knit them, and they'll look beautiful, and they'll be called Elgin, and I can walk around Elgin with my Elgin socks on. And the thing that I quite like about it is it only uses 1 skein of the Humming Aran, and I quite like the idea of having an Aran project in hand-dyed without the need to make the additional outlay for yardage, and basically have a pair of socks that will cost twice as much because you need more yards. It doesn't. This only uses 1 skein. So in order to be entered for that, you need to tell me which colourway from Ginger's hand-dyed you will use of the Humming Aran. So I will put a link in the show notes, and I'll put a link on Ravelry, and you need to go over to Ginger Twist Studios and go and have a look in our little web shop, and we can have a fight over the Go Blimey colourway, and then you can say which one you would rather have and not the one that I want. And you need to pick basically which is your favourite colourway that you'd make the Elgin socks in, and you can post that in Ravelry, or you can post it on any other of my social media to enter. If you want extra entries, if you post on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram as well as Ravelry, then you'll get extra entries, and there's entries on the blog as well, so there's a potential for 5 entries there, and this is a big prize, so I would go for it if I were you. So as I've said, I will put all of the info for that in the show notes, so get yourselves over there and have a look and see which one you would choose. So the closing date for that will be Sunday the 9th of November, and the lucky winner will be notified thereafter. But I think that's quite a good prize, so I would definitely put the effort into to enter that bad boy. So without further ado, I am thrilled to introduce Jess of Ginger Twist Studio and me, my other self, when I was in Edinburgh a couple of months ago and chatting to her about all things hand-dyed and business, really. So I hope you'll enjoy the interview with Jess and let me know what you think. And if you have any questions for her afterwards, just ping them over because she's dead friendly and really, really kind of nice. Just be warned, there are a couple of areas where the giggling gets a little bit loud, so you may want to kind of moderate your volume sets accordingly. Right, so today I've had the very large honour of being allowed into the super secret dye studio of Ginger Twist Studio, and I'm joined by the ever lovely, and everybody knows I love her already, Jess, who's been hard at work whilst I've been drinking fizzy Highland water and watching her basically backbreakingly prepare lots of yarn. Mostly for the Knitmore girls, I think.
Ah, yes, indeed.
Yeah,
some Outlander-themed yarn.
Yeah, it's all about Outlander at the moment, it would seem. So thank you very much for allowing me to come and hijack your studio this afternoon and talk to you about all things Ginger Twist.
Yes.
And some exciting news. We're in urban Edinburgh. Some exciting news that you've got coming up. You'll probably hear also in the background the faint kind of clicking of metal and a kind of bubbling noise, and that is 6 pots of yarn on the hook. So it is not unlike a metal oven here either, to be honest with you. Exactly. But it's all yarn.
A bit schwitzy.
It is. It smells a bit like a chippy. I was sort of blown away when the door opened and I got hit with a face full of vinegar.
Yeah, I really should have warned you.
After running down London Road, and it's quite warm. It was quite hot by the time I got here. So, can you tell us a little bit about you, Jess, as a person, and how you came to be interested in yarny pursuits?
Yeah, well, I guess I've always kind of knit and been crafty for a good portion of my life, and then once I moved here to Edinburgh, I started working in another yarn shop, and then just really, actually it's funny, I looked back at kind of some papers and such I wrote when I was at uni, and just coming out of high school, and the first paper I wrote in my beginner writing class was about how to open a yarn shop. And it was just just to practice punctuation, correct writing and everything. But I was like, oh, that's funny, I didn't remember that I had wanted to open a yarn shop at that point, but I did. And
is it on Amazon? If not, why not?
Yes.
It's a signed copy.
So then, after kind of seeing how it works, I kind of got the confidence to strike out on my own and, set up Ginger Twist Studio, which is very exciting.
It is the most small and perfectly formed yarn shop in Edinburgh.
As they say.
Lovely.
And it's been over a year now, which is amazing. So
I know, it's really exciting.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that place. So, what was the tipping point though? Because obviously you said you were working in a yarn shop, you were working for someone else. What was that tipping point that made you think, you know what, I'm done working for you, I'm gonna have my own shop?
Well, I just thought there's so many lovely yarns out there, and there's so many that, I was interested in, that I wanted to have my own space that I could curate, like a yarny museum, and just decide or a yarny art gallery, I should say, and decide what goes in there and be my own boss, and all that madness entails. But I love it still, which is a good sign.
Yeah, because it's not like a museum, because you have a very specific vintage aesthetic, but the yarn itself is actually modern. It's not been there since the 1950s.
Exactly. Yeah. We wouldn't want that. No.
Oh, lovely. So, what's your favourite quote then that you turn to for inspiration?
Well, one of my favourite songs, I'm going to say more a lyric, or lyrics, is just in the song. It's called "You'll Never Know," and I believe it was in the early 1950s that this was kind of popular. It was one of the kind of standards, and it's just all about, you'll never really know what's round the corner, so you kind of basically life's not a dress rehearsal, so you need to tell people what they need to hear, you know, whether it be I love you or whatever. Just don't wait, you know, just do it.
That's a really good one.
I'm kind of incorporated a few different quotes in there, you know, Nike. And
so anyone else you're sponsored by that you can kind of get at the end of the podcast? I could just not see if one person that would not be sponsored by Nike is probably you.
Yeah, probably not.
You haven't got that whole vintage aesthetic going on.
Yeah, no, I've actually wearing Converse now as well. So
there you go. There you go. Oh, lovely. So, obviously we've talked a bit about how you got into the business, and you've already kind of alluded a little bit to the amount of work involved. But no journey is ever a smooth one when you run in a business, and sometimes things don't go completely according to plan. Can you think of a time that happened for you and what you learned out of it, basically?
Yeah, I would say I was lucky enough for my yarn to be featured in an issue of Pom Pom, which was so exciting. It was so amazing, and I was really focusing on that aspect of it. And, you know, wasn't as much focused on the amount of prep work that I needed to do when the issue came out. So I didn't actually have, you know, a whole lot of the colors available that were used in Pom Pom. And part of that as well was to do with cash flow. I was still a very new business, so it was kind of difficult to be, you know, getting those bases in and making that commitment of those colorways, you know, when I wasn't sure. And I was quite a new dyer as well. So, you know, I think one of the colorways I had a little bit of trouble kind of recreating, because I was like, oh, wait, you know, I didn't write down that that's another thing to do with dyeing. To get, you know, be consistent and write down your recipes and, you know, just kind of get similar dye lots and whatnot. But anyways, I would say if I could go back, I would have, you know, done more prep work for this exciting thing, and then done kits as well for all the colorways. But it is a risk. But, you know, it still brought me lots of business from Pom Pom readers, so that was quite good. But definitely have learned a lesson from that. Yeah, preparation.
Preparation. It is very easy to be caught up in the moment of what you're doing, and you're like, I'm in Pom Pom, I'm like famous, I'm in Pom Pom. This is brilliant, and not think, it's not obvious to think, okay, what is the knock-on effect of this? What do I need to do? And can I afford to take this risk as a business, a new business person?
Yep. It was scary because then, I mean, it was very exciting, but I think I didn't realize how many people would want those colorways. Yeah. What business that would generate. I just thought it was cool that I was in the magazine.
Yeah. And it's surprising how many people choose the exact same colours as well.
Yes, absolutely. It's so true. I
never do that.
I don't think all the online orders I got were for those exact colorways, and I was getting emails saying, oh, when are you going to have this in? And I was like, oh my gosh, you know, like, and at that point I was still dyeing in my kitchen as well. Yeah. So it was just, I couldn't produce the quantity that was needed, but now, you know, with having like access to a proper dye studio, it makes it a whole lot easier. So
yeah, definitely. And obviously the processes in here seem very streamlined and organised.
Yes.
Obviously the people listening can't see that, but it's definitely it's really good. So that's a good one. What would you say has been the high point of your journey so far as a business lady?
Definitely the Indie Yarn Crawl.
Yeah,
the first
very
year.
Successful.
So that was very exciting. I just didn't realize how many people would come out. So it was really amazing. And I think, you know, I kind of, you know, well, it was intentional, you know, my marketing kind of strategy, but I didn't realize that it would actually work. So it was nice to see all the people come out on the day and also go to the pub for the after party. So definitely going to be bigger and better next summer.
So confirming it will definitely be taking place next summer.
Absolutely.
Lovely. And I take it we can find out all of the details on your website.
Yes, absolutely.
I should be keeping a very close eye in that case, because I actually missed it. I wanted to come, and my husband was at work, and we had no one to mind the children, so I couldn't come. But I will make sure he books leave this year.
Yes.
I'm going to go look for my train tickets when I get home. So, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Relationships.
That's a good one.
Yeah, a friend of mine, or kind of associate friend sort of person. Anyway, she always tells me this, and it's absolutely right. I mean, it's great to have, customers that come in for the one-off, tourists or whatnot, but, I'm all about building a community. So it's all about relationships, and that's why I run the knit club as well, just to kind of foster that community and, continue to build and develop these relationships. So
I think it's really important because, especially I think for your shop and the aesthetic that you've got, and you do have a really strong brand, and you fit in perfectly to your brand because it is very much you and your personality, and you can only really get that relationship and get to know someone in person, really, not on the internet, because you can order stuff from Derrimores or whoever.
Yep.
Other big box yarn stores are available. I wouldn't take any, just in case you think about your Derrimores. No, you can't sponsor my podcast. Darling, flicks the hair.
Oh my!
I'm all about the indies. But you can't get that relationship with someone just in an internet shop that way.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, people are going to buy from people they like.
Yes.
It's like, why would you buy from somebody that you don't like? There's no point.
I know. And actually, you want your customers to be happy, and you want to know they're happy. So.
Exactly. And I like to see everything they do with the yarn they buy from the shop, and it's great.
Yes. And the Brigantia. Brigantia.
Yes,
Brigantia can sponsor me if they like. On my shop to spinners. But not you, Derrimores. Good
sorry.
I'm definitely not nailing any colours to any masks there, are we? Moving swiftly on. Which one thing that you know now did you wish you had known when you picked up that first ball of yarn?
I would say, okay, well, there's two things. I mean, you really should take a tension swatch or a gauge swatch. I remember the first jumper I did, it was out of Stitch and Bitch, or was it Stitch and Bitch? Yeah, I think it was the first Stitch and Bitch book.
Debbie Sola?
Yes, yes. And I was using acrylic as well, so another recommendation, use nice quality products. They don't have to be super expensive, like the West Yorkshire spinners that I stock. It's really budget friendly, and it's really good quality. Or, you can go for the high class hand dyed, whatever your budget suits. But I would say use good yarn or good wool and take a swatch, because that jumper, I was just swimming in it. And I remember I tried to
Did you float on it if it was acrylic?
Exactly. It was awful. It was so bad. And then, not knowing, I tried shrinking it, but of course, acrylic is plastic, and it's not going to do
kind of flimsy.
Exactly. And I think it actually got bigger.
Probably, actually.
Yeah. And it was just bad. I never actually wore it. And that was a sad day. I just gave it away to the charity shop because I was like, nobody's going to want this either.
So someone probably has got that on now.
Probably, yeah. Because, acrylic lasts years and years. It's
plastic.
Forever.
It's plastic.
It will be here long after we depart.
Death of the universe. And it's like a big pile of acrylic. Not that I'm massively anti-acrylic. I'm not anti-acrylic at all. I think it does have its place, but there's acrylic and there's acrylic, isn't there?
Yes, this was like a huge ball of just this awful red as well. It just looked so cheap. I'm like, why did I ever even buy that? I don't know. I think I got it at the 99-cent store.
But I mean, acrylic is the vehicle into, along with Funky Fair, and I'm a big fan of Funky Fair and eyelash yarn. Just for its comedy value.
Yes.
I appreciate every bit of yarn's contribution. But that was the kind of vehicle into knitting for a lot of people.
Yeah, this is true. And then it's like, I've knit for acrylic for, X amount of years, however long that was. And then I think, it was when I moved to New York that I got introduced to some other really nice yarns. So then became, a bit of a yarn snob after that. So I certainly have had it developed with, being here and having a yarn shop. It's like, it is what it is.
Yeah, and it's difficult, isn't it? Because it's like your entertainment budget. So if you're going to spend that long knitting something,
exactly,
it's actually entertainment. So it comes across two budgets, really. And that's how I justify it.
Yes.
My husband.
Oh, very good, very good.
So if anyone wants to trot that one out, feel free. But no, it's a good one. I think definitely the slippery slope to hand dyed. I think everyone's been on that at one point or another and just gone, so nice.
Yes, exactly. It's like you can't go back.
No, no, you can't. So this one is time for the random question.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows that knitters love cake. If you were a cake, which would you be?
Salted caramel cake all the way, and the one from Love Crumbs.
Oh, what's Love Crumbs?
It's this amazing cafe or like cakery over in the Grass Market. It's on Westport.
How did I not know about this place?
Oh my gosh! If I'm not over in that area of town very often, but if I am, it's like I have to go to Love Crumbs. And I've only had this salted caramel cake once because they have different cakes like all the time.
Yeah.
You know, it's just kind of what they bake on the day or whatnot. So, but this cake is amazing, and I would say, I'm just salty and sweet. Maybe more sweet than salty, but.
We were discussing this question earlier, and at the time I just quipped like a little sweaty piece of chocolate.
Which is actually suitable for right now because we're in the sweaty dye studio.
With that kind of salt and vinegar.
Yeah,
chocolate, really.
Yeah. Condensation everywhere.
I know. I kept thinking, my hair keeps getting stuck to these bottles of dye. I've been dragged through a hedge backwards by the time I get out later. Oh dear. Funny. But yeah, that's in the Grass Market, so it's quite a touristy area, so that's somewhere that would be quite easy for people to go visit. It's
absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think there'd be any crumbs left if I went in there.
And they have the cakes displayed so amazingly. It's in like this big kind of armoire, like a wardrobe, and the doors are just open. It's just all cakes on the shelves. It's great.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. It sounds really good. What is your favourite go-to resource for yarn craft or business that you couldn't do without?
Definitely Ravelry. I feel like that's a kind of standard answer, but it's true. Like
it is pretty good, isn't it?
When I'm in the shop, you know, if somebody comes in, is wanting to use this yarn and if I can't think of anything right away that's, you know, a pattern that I maybe stock, you know, it's just like, just pop on Ravelry and we'll look at what options are available. It makes it so much easier. And just even to like look at, you know, if people are wanting to substitute a wool, you know, if I'm not familiar with that brand, I just pop on Ravelry, look at it, be like, you know, it looks like that would be equivalent to this, so you could knit it out of Brigantia or
Brigantia.
Exactly. So it's very handy.
Yeah. Oh, funny. Do you think they knew, like, Casey and how big it would get?
Oh my god.
When they started it, do you think it was part of the evil master plan? Or do you think
I think it probably surprised them. I think it's
Yeah.
just evolved. But man, I don't know. I don't know what I did before Ravelry. I'll tell you what I did. I knit huge acrylic jumpers. So Ravelry really helps you to see, you know, it's great to be able to look at other people's projects.
Yeah.
If you're thinking of doing a pattern, then you can look at other people that have done it and be like, okay, that really worked for them, and you know, if maybe they have a similar body type to you or something. So it's definitely my go-to.
Yeah, and then there's those people who you just like, I need to go see what they've made.
Exactly.
This one lady, I think she's called Jet Shin on Ravelry. I'll have to check. And she does a lot of test knitting, but like she like adjusts things, and she's got like this perfect figure as well, and she like has this beautiful knitwear that she's kind of like tweaked from the original pattern.
Yes,
and that is proper serious, like aspirational knitting stuff.
Yes.
So if anyone else has any like people we need to be looking at, then definitely let us know.
Shout away.
Yeah. So I think we'll just wrap up the interviewing part of the question, because we've got some other exciting things to talk about just after we've done like the kind of formatted part of the interview. So to sum up then, do you have any parting words of advice for people looking to get into the industry? And then after that, can you tell us where we can find you?
Okay, well,
and then we'll go on to
contain your excitement.
Can't help it.
I would just say, you know, I really thoroughly enjoy having a yarn business. But it is a lot of work, and a lot of it is not to do with yarn. You know, it's more just the businessy side, you know, doing your taxes and, I don't know, paying the rent, and, you know, it's just, that's a part of it, but I still love it. So just know that, you know, you're not going to just be able to sit there and knit all the time. You know, I do a lot of the time, but
going to say you have quite a turnout, considering you don't spend all your time knitting.
So, but just be wary of that, and, you know, then you can really, you know, you can get your kind of homework or the more businessy side of things done, and then you can have fun knitting and deciding what other samples to make for, you know, whatever. Like, I'm always concerned about making samples for the shop.
Well, you should be, because Joan, who is, if you don't know Joan, if you're not familiar with Joan, she's the headless model
she's
that
fabulous.
lives in Ginger Twist Studios.
Fabulous.
She is utterly fabulous. She's terribly hot right now.
She's very chic.
She's utterly chic.
Mm-hmm. She's the it girl of Edinburgh.
She is,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
People, I know they come past your shop just to see what Joan's wearing, so they can, you know...
Oh, she's due
dress
for an
accordingly.
outfit change, maybe on Wednesday. Yeah.
Oh, really? Ooh.
Because now it's, you know, Isolde's Designer of the Month, so I have all her samples right now. So I've just been rotating them on Joan. So I think she needs one more new outfit before the end of the month.
Ooh.
Have to decide what that is.
It's a hard life, you know.
Yes.
Dressing a supermodel
Yes.
and running a yarn store. How you manage it? So, as I mentioned, obviously we're going to do a little bit more chatter after the kind of set kind of questions I would quite like to ask the people, the guests that are on here. But as you will all no doubt be aware, Claire Divine and Ginger Twist Studios, known to those who are friends as Ginger Divine, which is in no way a prostitute's name.
It sounds like a porn star.
It does, but it's brilliant. I'm like, yeah, well, you know, if this doesn't work,
I quite like it
there's another line of work there for you, potentially. You know?
Absolutely. It is yarn porn. Yarn porn.
It is yarn porn,
Yeah.
it is. And you guys have got together and you've created this collection of head-to-toe patterns that came out at the start of August, was it?
Yes.
And each month another one is being released. Obviously we like to hear all the stories behind it on the podcast of our favourite people. So can you tell us a bit about why you decided to do a collection together and what the inspiration for it was?
Yeah.
And how you found the process of collaborating on such a kind of involved project?
Yes. Okay. Let's make sure I cover everything. All right. Well, you know, it was really nice. Met Claire. She moved into town and then came into the shop, and, you know, then we kind of got to be friends. And then she started teaching workshops at the shop, and then we kind of, I don't know, I think it grew very organically. Like, through the workshops that she would teach, we would kind of talk about what we needed to cover, like what project it should be. And so then, you know, she would design something for the workshop for her teaching purposes. And then I'm trying to remember how it even came up. I don't know.
I've no doubt it was during one of her lengthy stops by Ginger Twist Studios to feel the Brigantia.
Yes,
probably came up.
Rolled around in it. Yeah, it somehow came up about us maybe kind of collaborating. And I think initially we had said, okay, it'd be great as a book. Yeah. And then we kind of went back and said, oh, maybe it'll just be like an ebook. And then we went back to the imprint idea. And then, I don't know, it just kind of seemed quite natural or quite a nice idea to have this collection of patterns and release one each month. And then we can kind of foster the knit along. And yeah, so it was really interesting. I'm really happy to be collaborating with her. It's really exciting. And we've got, you know, other plans in the future, obviously, that I cannot talk about.
You haven't even told me these plans yet, so yeah, you're not the only ones being left out. I feel like I'm missing out.
And let's see. Yeah, it's been really interesting because, you know, we kind of had so Claire was wanting to design stuff that was basically like for the shop, like for me. I was the inspiration. So, you know, we kind of worked together with what those items would be, and we decided the collection. I think we came up with the name before we decided on any patterns, like just the head to toe. It's quite nice. And then she kind of, we both kind of had the idea at the same time that maybe the patterns should be named after the street names, like around the shop.
Yeah.
Because it's very much all to do with, like, Claire coming into the shop, my hand dyed, Ginger Twist, like, it's all based around that. And let's see. Yeah, it was really interesting kind of coming up with exactly what items these would be, kind of testing out what they were like in the different bases and what colors we thought people would like to see. So, yeah, it was a really interesting process. I think all the samples that we did of these were colors that I had already done up. But I think one of them, maybe it was the change in the brief, which is the Brunswick shawl. I think I hadn't written down that recipe right or something was wrong with my dye mixture before, and I just kind of faffed about. So that was a little bit of a challenge to try and recreate that, which I feel like I did sufficiently. But yeah, what am I missing?
I must say the Brunswick pattern is very much your aesthetic.
It is.
It is like a little capelet with a little teeny tiny button, so you could just be like effortlessly glamorous.
Yes, it's very ladylike.
See, I mean, you tell me it's about you, but I think it's really about Joan.
Yes.
Joan needs to be head to toe.
Joan. Well, she is the one wearing all the samples, you know. I mean, we kind of share a little bit, so I wear one, maybe she wears one.
So,
yeah.
I would so love to have like my own knitwear mannequin that I can share clothes with. You like having a sister?
Yes, it is. But she's very quiet. She doesn't ask anything of me. It's great.
So there you go. Sounds perfect. So as she was saying, it's about, you know, the collection is about you guys, how you came to meet, and then kind of like how your kind of relationship has grown, I guess.
Yeah. It's all very organic. And it's just, it's wonderful. I feel very fortunate to have met have created this, or being a part of this Ginger Divine collaboration. It's great.
It is really cool. Because I never realised, obviously I knew the names were Scottish names.
Yeah.
But I didn't realise the reason why they'd been called that is because those are the streets that she goes through to get to your shop.
Yep.
That's
absolutely.
really cool.
It's great.
It's really cool. So there are some exciting evil plans to do with Elgin. Because Elgin is the last pattern to be released.
The very last one.
That is the last pattern to be released. And clearly, seeing as I now live in Elgin, I jumped straight on that bandwagon and said, please, you must let me give away a copy of this on my new on my podcast from my new location. And that's what Claire and Jess have done. So there will be some copies of Elgin pattern to be given away as a giveaway. And Jess has very, very kindly offered to give away a skein of yarn to one lucky winner to go with the pattern to make the Elgin.
They'll have to pick a colour.
So what you will need to do to enter is to go to Jessie's fabulous website, www.gingertwiststudio.com
or .co.uk, that works too.
Yeah, because you didn't tell us what we could find.
Yeah, that's what I forgot.
I knew there was something, but it's so hot in here and vinegary.
Yes, we're delirious.
But yeah, pretty much. And you need to go to her. In fact, she just run off to turn off all the dye stuff. I really hope I haven't ruined 6 buckets of yarn. You need to go to www.gingertwiststudio.com. I will link to it in the show notes just in case you don't get lost. And you need to go to the Humming Aran section, which is the recommended yarn for the Elgin pattern, and tell us what colour you would knit your Elgin socks in. Now, why is it called Humming Aran?
I was going to bring this up. Actually, well, the base is alpaca merino nylon and the Aran weight, and I do a DK weight as well in it. But it is called humming because that's one of the ways alpacas communicate to each other. They hum. So one of their noises.
Really cool. See, I think I'm going to have to get some and make some new socks for my mum because I bought my mum some socks. I don't have to knit her any for looking after the children from John Arbon, and they were alpaca bed socks and they were beautiful. And she's only got little feet, so and someone put them in the washer. Not her. She knows about soak. She's been educated.
Okay, all right.
Some helpful person has washed them, so now they fit the beast. They don't even fit her. She's a size. My mum's a size 3. The beast is like a size 8.5. Already, but these socks now fit the beast instead.
Okay, well at least they can go to somebody, I suppose.
Exactly, but now I'll have to replace them with some Elgin socks.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe for Christmas.
Yes, you should do. They're very cozy, as I've had to wear them, for the photo shoots and whatnot. But
absolutely, it's a tough life, but someone's got to do it.
I know, exactly. Exactly.
So I think all that remains now is to say thank you very much for your time, Jess.
Oh.
You've been so generous with your story and letting us know all about it.
It's always a delight to see you.
Oh, thank you. Now, if we wanted to chat to you, if someone wanted to get in touch with you on the internet perhaps,
Yes.
or come visit you in Edinburgh, where must they go?
Well, you can email me at gingertwiststudio@gmail.com or just pop into the shop. It's at 11 London Road in Edinburgh. EH7 5AP. Alpha Papa.
And that is walking distance for most people from the middle of town, really.
Yeah,
It's about
yeah.
10 minutes maximum.
Absolutely. Yeah, not too far. About 10-minute walk from Holyrood and Parliament kind of area. So
Definitely within the sphere of influence.
Yep.
Get that on your itinerary. Well, I'm afraid that's all we've got time for. A huge thank you to Jess for giving me some of her time to chat about all things Ginger Twist. And all that remains for me now is to say happy crafting, have a great week, and speak to you all again soon. Bye! Thank you for listening to the Shinybees podcast. Show notes for this episode can be found on the blog at www.shinybees.com. Music used in this episode is by Adam and the Walter Boys, and it's I Need a Drink, available by Music Alley.
That's alright. I feel a need to laugh again with you, if that's alright.